today.
Hey, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Rock and roll.
Come on. What's
Proper threads.
Come on.
The whole bit, yeah.
Don't play no games, eh?
I'm loving the game, man.
Come on.
If you put here because of
conversation. Our conversation, yeah? Okay. Should we do all of them, yeah?
Wow. What last time I looked?
Athiest.
Baptized, Christian.
Are you practicing?
No, I left Christianity about the age of 16, 17 when I started to think and investigate and look into what I consider to be sort of my opinion of the world.
Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
My name's Ian.
Ian, Zishan.
Zishan, nice to meet you, Zishan.
Nice to meet you, Ian.
Beautifully upholstered gentleman, that's great.
Thank you. Sometimes it's not always about what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside, and I've sure your inside is great.
I've heard that rumor.
I'm sure your inside is awesome.
I do hope
well.
so.
I can just tell from the way we've started and stuff like that. I hope, God willing, it will be a fruitful conversation with
let us hope so.
Yeah, with some food for thought at the very least.
Always food for thought.
So, Ian, what's your view about how we have come about, how the universe has come about, and what our purpose is, etc., etc.?
I think when we talk about our purpose, it is to look for that which humans always aspire. Why are we here? What is the purpose of life? And my answer is always, we don't know. And I'll always say that we don't know is the best answer. We have the best possible example at the moment of the creation of the universe, which is the Big Bang Theory. Can't say I'm particularly fond of it myself, because there's a lot of holes and problems in physics, but it's the best theory we have. But as to why, where, what, I don't know. And I always think that's a great standpoint.
In terms of how you have come to be, how would you describe it if you were to pinpoint it?
How I've come to be. So we've got humans which have been around for about 250,000 years. And, my ancestors had children. My parents obviously had me. And that's why I'm here. So it's simple human progeny, which is why I come to be the person I am now.
Do you believe we came from nothing, or do you believe we came from chance? Because you seem to be leaning towards the Big Bang, so it'll be interesting to see.
I don't know about chance. I just think we came to be because of the conditions that the universe created, such that we could exist, if that makes sense. It's like the idea that the Earth is a perfect place and a perfect situation for the sun, which is true. But you could also argue that life develops here because we are perfectly situated for the sun. It's not the horse before the cart, it's the cart before the horse, if that makes sense.
Interesting. What about in terms of your morality? Where do you get your morality from?
Human well-being. So I would say that what is moral is that which is not deleterious to your well-being. And you can bring animals into this as well. So, like for example, I've got rabbits at home. Nice. I don't want to see anyone kill my rabbits. Yes. I would have words with them if they did believe me. But that which is not deleterious to you or any of these people is, in my opinion, morality. We don't need to get that from a book.
And if two people differ, how do you know which morality to go with?
That which is better for human beings.
And who decides?
You don't need to decide. So, for example, this gentleman here, should we cut his leg off? You say yes, I say no. I think we'd all agree not cutting his leg off is better for him. So we won't cut his leg off.
But if the person's got diabetes and the only chance of survival is to get rid of the leg,
in medical situations, yes, but then he'd be.
But do you see?
Then he'd be willing towards that, yes.
So I just wanted to get a kind of understanding of where you stand generally. So, correct me if I'm wrong. I would say when pondering about the universe, we have a few options about how it came to be or how we came to be.
Oh heavens, yes.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. We hypothesize, but we don't know. We've got no. It's a confusing situation. Nobody really knows. That which science at least helps to demonstrate to be correct.
Science, yeah? That's your yardstick?
Yeah.
Any other yardsticks?
Just science I'll have.
Okay. So what I will argue is science itself is very limited by its
Yes,
nature.
it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and
Because it's only limited by science's ability to gather data. Because science is data, and we can only prove that which we can see. And that's what science is, the demonstration of knowledge in the real world.
Yeah, no, definitely, I agree with you. In fact, if you look at the philosophy of science, science by its nature is morphing, it's changing, it's evolving, ironically.
Yes.
So what I would argue is that even in our day-to-day life, Ian, we don't solely rely on science as the yardstick. Let me give you an example. Most of what you have learnt, or most of what you take and absorb, is actually done through testimony. Would you agree with me on that? Or would you like me to elaborate?
No, I understand exactly what you mean. And for most people, when you ask that question, they would say yes. I would say no, I'm actually based on science because I do like a little bit of science.
Okay.
So it's fair to say that it's based on science.
Okay, let me just backtrack a little bit.
Please do.
Let's just say when we go to school or when we are at home, I would say 9 times out of 10, in fact I would even go to 9.9 times out of 10, we don't get a chance to do the actual experiment ourselves. We don't get to read the primary source material. We don't get to excavate. We don't get to dig. We don't get to carbon date. That's only restricted for a handful of people in our society. The rest of us have to go through testimony. Yes, it will be different levels of testimony, but testimony nevertheless. Would you at least agree with that?
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And I'd also put a caveat on that, which is that I went through Christian schooling all the way till I was 16. And when I was at school, I was taught that Jesus Christ was real. There was no question about it. Jesus is real. When I got older, I started to question and thought, not so sure about this. That's where I am. So just because you taught something at school doesn't mean, and it's like anything in life, just because you're told something, don't accept it, have a look for yourself. What is the most logical explanation for the thing you're being told? Critical thinking.
So you, as a man of science, you've agreed that 99.9% of your information is actually testimony, yeah?
Well, you're making those figures.
We can go with any figure. The reason why I say that, Ian, is because let's just say I can back that figure up. When's the last time you excavated and carbon dated something?
About 2 weeks ago, I was in New Mexico digging up fossils of a velociraptor. It was a tricky... No, seriously. No, I haven't done that, thanks to the applause. No, I haven't done, but it's fair to say we know these things are done, and you can go and see digs and bits and pieces. I haven't done it personally.
I'm not denying that. Yeah. What I'm saying is, I agree with you. There is a level of trust, and I would say it's based upon logic, rationality, and common sense, without which, Ian, our society couldn't function properly.
You wouldn't have those shoes.
I probably would still. Nothing's going to stop these shoes from coming on these feet.
They're great.
Oh, thanks, Ian. But Ian, what I'm trying to say is, even with regards to experimentation, even studies, you hear studies that 4 out of 5 women have been sexually harassed in the UK. It's done by a YouGov poll. You're not going to go around and say, okay, that was the sample size. I'm going to go out, because we actually can't. So what we'll do is we look at the source and we'll say, is that reliable or not? And then if we think, in our opinion and our limited understanding, is reliable to us, subjective, then we'll take it.
Have you ever watched a program called Yes Minister or Yes Prime Minister?
I'm aware of it.
Okay, so there's a specific scene in Yes Prime Minister whereby they ask for a poll to be done on people's opinions of national service. And depending on the way they ask the questions, somebody can't help but say, yes, I believe in the national service. Yeah. And then they ask another load of questions and say, well, I can't possibly believe in national service. Never trust any government statistics in any way, because they're all nonsense.
So when you hear a study, Ian, I'm sure you, because you're a man of science, these studies that you hear, how do you determine if they're correct or not?
By looking at who's done the study, where the data's coming from, who the people were, fundamentally who's doing it. If it's a BBC, it's going to be massively to the left. If it's going to be the Telegraph, it's going to be to the right. But it's interesting nonetheless.
So testimony, yeah?
Testimony in so much as what somebody says about something, yeah. But
Yeah.
I can have testimony that I've seen a UFO land on the common today. It didn't, but I can still have testimony that it did.
Yeah, exactly. So reliable testimony.
No,
It's like-
there's nothing reliable about testimony.
It's like you just said. In that sense, the point rests on this premise that you are not doing it yourself. You are relying on either a website, you're relying on someone mentioning something about the author, you're relying on something that somebody has said about the newspaper. It comes down to testimony, but different levels of testimony.
It does, yes, but it also comes down to demonstrable testing. Like, for example, I can't find, I'm just hunting down here for a stone, I can't find what's all these. If I were to drop a stone now, it'll drop at 9.81 metres per second. It'll hit the ground, because that's physics. Need to take anyone's opinion on it, that's a fact.
Have you ever done that?
Yes.
You've measured the speed?
Yes, believe it or not, I've actually dropped a stone off the Leaning Tower of Pisa and timed it, and it works out perfectly with the Suvat equations. It does work. So when you've got physics that works, where else do we need to go?
But my point still remains, which is we can do, I would say, a small amount of experimentation, but on the whole, and I would stick with my over 99% number, because we, Ian, don't have the time, we don't have the resources. In fact, a lot of scientific equipment is very expensive. Not everybody is able, Italian as well. not, not everybody is able to be like us, you know?
Yep.
So in that sense, Ian, I think the point still remains, and it's a safe assumption to make, that testimony is needed for our society to run. I would add another caveat as well. I would say where testimony isn't, even logically. For example, you hear now sirens.
Yeah.
You are now inspiring to the best explanation. That has to be one of the emergency services.
Yes, I agree.
You're not doing a scientific experiment. You're not relying on testimony.
Nope.
Relying on rationality.
Exactly.
So Ian, what I would say is that's what I want to determine initially, what's your yardstick for determining truth? And I would argue that for us to come to, I wouldn't even say truth, because I mean different people interpret that in different ways, just the same as science does, which is the inference to the best explanation. Yeah. So I would say when constructing an argument, I will not only rely on empiricism, I will rely on testimony, I will rely on rationality, ontology, all of these things, philosophy, in order to scaffold the argument. And then Ian, I'm saying, and that's up to us where we kind of leave and depart. But what I would say is, if we are to be intellectually honest, even in our daily life, Ian, if I was to say, how have we come to be? There are three options. Either it was by chance, or we came from nothing, or we were created. Now, which of these three seems likely? Now, the one that, if we were to be honest, in fact, let me pose it to you. What do you think is the most likely out of these? Or is there another option?
Given what we know, the most likely thing is we are here by complete freak chance. And there's a reason for that, because there's no evidence for anything else.
We'll come to the evidence. Don't worry, there's plenty of time for evidence. And there's different layers of evidence. Yeah. So when you look at chance now, Ian, that's why I was saying that in our daily life, we don't take those odds. If there was a child that came and said, Ian, Dad, and you're like, I'm in the middle of a conversation. No, you're my dad. First thing you would do is
Look after the child.
no. The first thing you do is he lying or is he telling the truth? You determine that, isn't it?
No, my first thing would be to look after the child. If a child came to me, the first thing I'd do would be to say, you're all right.
In this current climate.
No, the first thing I'd do would look after the child. That is the responsibility of a parent. The first thing you do is look after the child.
So bear in mind, I've
Doesn't
said
matter whose child it is. I hope no one thinks I'm trying to pinch anyone's kids.
that's the problem.
I'll look after the child.
But that's the problem, though.
I
Child
don't
comes,
see that as a problem.
if children sometimes play pranks, they do
course
certain
they do.
things.
Yeah.
And if you've taken a child to the side and, you know, there's police there or somebody notices something and say something, that could be issues for you. I mean, I've been a teacher for quite a while, and if it's a child's word against yours, they're taking the child's word.
Chair of governors in the primary school, mate.
So you know better than me then?
Yes!
Yeah, there you go.
But I'll still always protect a child.
Oh, of course. I mean, he will be there and you're not
Or
going
she.
to... Huh?
Or they.
Well, yeah,
Or
yeah.
any of those other words.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is, at that situation, if you do a DNA test, in that DNA test,
I see your point, sorry.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
went off the tangent.
yeah, no worries, it's fine. I mean, it's all well and good. So 80%, if they say, look, that child is 80% plus is yours, or if they say, look, it's going 90% or even higher, 95%, but the chances 5% is not yours, what would you opt for?
What are my options?
Your options is either he's your child or either he's not your child. What's your conclusion from that DNA test?
Given my experience with my wife and life and 23 years of marriage, hello, I would say there was something wrong with the test.
You did it again and similar results.
And there's something wrong with the test.
And it happened again.
As much as sail as you want to put onto this test, I will say there's not enough wind.
Because normally what happens, Ian, in these DNA tests, there's a threshold. And
There's always a tolerance.
exactly. And beyond that, you're given if for example, like you said, it's under a certain tolerance, they will say inconclusive.
Yes.
But when it's 85 or above, it's pretty conclusive.
Yeah.
So you're saying in an everyday situation, I would have to say, if you're being honest with yourself, Ian, in that situation, you would say it's highly likely that he's my child, and for me to turn him away and say you're not my child is unreasonable.
It is a hypothetical situation. Would I? There would have to be words between myself and my wife and the child, but any child I would look for the best in the child and do the best by the child. Let's put it like that.
That's fine. That's what you're saying. But I will stick with this point that in our daily life, for example, if we're crossing the road, now according to physics, a tree can pop out of existence and cause a big traffic issue.
Not like that. It can't. No.
According to quantum
might
physics.
take 100 years.
According to quantum physics, it's possible.
It's never happened demonstrably in our reality. So we'll put quantum physics on the side because there's so many problems with quantum physics. Neither of us are quantum physicists, I'm guessing.
And
I'm not quantum physicist.
You've actually. I'm not either.
No. So let's put quantum physics in the park,
And
along with Schrodinger's cat.
That's brilliant. But you've actually proven my point. You've said, based on the probabilities, you will put aside science, and you will take what is, based on your experience. That's all I'm saying, Ian.
Let me flick it the other way around. You and I are about to cross that road. What's the first thing you do? Do you look for where the cars are coming and the bikes are coming, or do you pray?
I stop.
But would you pray and cross the road, or do you look for evidential science?
I do both.
Do you pray before every time you cross the road? Do you pray?
Depends.
Or do
Depends
you-
what you mean by pray.
I don't know. I am not of your faith, I suspect.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm Christian from being.
Yeah, no worries.
But if I was
I
crossing
can. I
the
can.
road,
I can elucidate that for you. If you want.
never having done this before, I wouldn't say, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, may I be safe crossing the road, and then step out. I'd look, taxi here, bits and pieces. I'd cross the road based on that which I can identify in the real world.
Let me clarify the differences between Christianity and Islam. This is an issue. Sometimes people force what's on Christianity onto Islam.
Jesus was a prophet. I've got one.
Well, I mean, you know that, but that wasn't where I was going. In terms of prayer, the highest level of prayer in Islam is ihsan. To be ihsan is a stage in which you are aware of God, throughout your life, and that's the elite type of prayer.
And so, sorry to cut in.
No, go
how
ahead.
are you aware of God?
How are you?
At what point do you know I am aware of God? Because I don't know.
Are you aware of your existence?
As much as I'm standing here and talking to you, yes.
Are you aware of your existence all of the time?
Apart from when I'm absolutely nutsed out my skull drinking cider, but yeah, other than that, yeah.
But you're doubting your existence when you're drunk.
Nah, that's a joke.
Yeah.
I am reasonably happy that I do exist in this place. This isn't hard solipsism.
Yeah, that's good, because solipsists have big issues and big problems.
Exactly.
But the point that I'm trying to say, Ian, is when a person believes in Allah and has gone through the rituals and stuff like that, again, it's a training, and like I said, it's the end goal, ihsan. Not everybody is able to do it, but that's the end goal. And just like a person's aware of their existence, a person simultaneously links that understanding of their existence with the understanding of God, and how they transcend what's around them. And that's where I would say is the difference between being on the street and going, oh, so this, I'm looking at you and I'm speaking with you, but I'm still remembering God. I'm talking about God, I'm remembering God. This is worship for me.
Yep.
If I'm not harming people and I've come into this park with the intention that I'm just going to have talk about religion, that is worship for me. So even when I'm going and I have an intention that I'm crossing the road because I'm going to go home because my mom's called me home early because she wants to spend some time with me, that's worship.
Yep.
So I don't have to put my hands together and go, oh, praise Jesus, praise this. That's why the concept of spirituality in Islam is, I would say, remarkably different. So when I'm crossing the road, I would do both things. And that's why even in my argumentation, Ian, I don't just take empiricism, I don't just take philosophy, I marry various forms of information and various subjects together to come to the inference to the best explanation.
And so which information is it that takes you to the conclusion that Islam is correct?
So it's a four...
I mean, that's a deep question. I do accept.
Yeah, no, I mean, we can go back and forth. So initially, what I would say is where we were, which was at the start. Once we proved that there is an existence, then we prove...
There is an existence, yes, agreed.
Brilliant. Then we acknowledge that existence is a necessary being.
Sorry, the existence is a necessary being.
No. Again, because I'm trying to rush everything, let me just give you the four-pronged approach, then I'll break it down, yeah?
I'll keep quiet.
Yeah, no worries. So there is existence.
Yes.
And you can't have an infinite regress of dependent things, and eventually you do need to have a necessary being. That necessary being has qualities. Then we go on to God. Then we go on to prophethood. Then we go on to scripture. And then when you marry all of these things together, then I come to the conclusion that Islam provides the best inference to the best explanation. What I've done at the moment, Ian, I haven't made the argument yet. You said how.
But in your second sentence, you inserted creation.
Right. But I also
and we don't know that creation in any way took place.
I also inserted Islam as well. Which
Islam or Judaism or Christianity or Hinduism is irrelevant. You have to prove the creator or the God before you even start arguing about which religion is right.
And
there's
Ian,
a lot of religions.
Yeah, and Ian, we haven't even started doing that yet. You said, what's your reason? I've given you, like you look at the contents page. And in the contents page, you've got like 4 or 5 chapters.
Yep.
I've just told you the chapter heading. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look at each individual one. I haven't even made my argument yet.
Go for it.
But that was a short summary because you asked a very big question.
Oh, it's a big question.
Yeah. And I said, look, my answer is going to be predicated on 4 things, just so it's easy for you to follow.
Yeah.
So, there are 3 types of existences. An impossible existence.
It's got to be said, before you even start, you just said there are 3 types of existences.
Yeah.
In your way of telling it.
Once I've said it...
I might disagree with you.
And you're more than welcome, Ian.
No.
Yeah, I'm going to say it, and then you're going to give your response.
And at the end of it, I'll say, yep, you've got it nailed.
Yeah, no worries. So, with these 3 types of existences, there's something that can't exist, which is known as an impossible existence. You have a dependent existence, and then you have an independent existence. Are there any other existences? Now the ball's in your court.
So you've got, it can't depend, it can't exist.
Impossible existence, like a squared circle.
Impossible existence,
Yeah.
dependent existence,
And independent.
and independent existence.
Yes.
Right, so, well, straight away, let's take dependent existence,
Yes.
which would be a baby, which is dependent existence. If that baby wasn't fed, looked after, what have you, it would die.
Yes.
Independent. So how are you? What would in your word? What would categorize independent existence?
Right. So philosophically, not in terms of like what Leibniz and Aristotelian understanding of necessary being, it's pretty much threefold. So an independent existence is something that cannot cease to exist. It's not composed.
An independent being is something that cannot cease to exist.
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
It does. It means that it can't just stop existing.
All right, independent in that it has no requirement in anyone in the physical state. All right, yeah, okay, I'll grant you that.
Yeah. It's not composed of parts. Yeah, and it can't be any other way.
Yeah.
So that's the philosophical understanding of independent existence, and dependent existence is the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree that there are three types of existences, or do you think there's a fourth?
I would reclassify the whole lot, but I'd have to have some time to think about it. But I'll go with yours, just for gun.
Right. You can't actually reclassify this, because this is the argument from dependence. So the definition and the way the argument is predicated is upon the notion of dependence and independence. So if you look in terms of dependence, because I'm not talking about cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
Cause and effect is a different there's Kalam cosmological argument. That's
Which is we both agree is
different.
nonsense.
well, it depends. So you have that. So I'm arguing from dependence. So if you're arguing from dependence, so either something is dependent or it's independent.
Yes,
Yeah.
something either is dependent or is independent. Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
So everything that's around you, would you say that's dependent or independent?
I would say that every living thing is dependent on other things.
Even non-living things.
Well, non-living things, no. Because, for example, that bike will be there in 1,000 years if we don't do anything to it. So that's not dependent on.
But isn't the bike, because you said the word bike can only exist if a human being creates the bike.
Yes,
So it's
that
dependent on the
is
creator.
true, but that's only the name I give it. The bike has no concern of what name I give it.
Has it been created?
It's been built by humans, yes.
Right. So it's dependent on a human being to create it, yeah?
That was humans had to create that for it to exist, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So any other examples?
How many more do you want? I mean, this
No, I
really-
just want you to be happy before we move on. I don't want you to say, I'll let you, because you know what happens then, Ian, is...
Things that are demonstrably created by humans are demonstrably created by humans.
Yeah, I would even say a tree, mountains, leaves.
Trees and mountains are definitely not created by humans.
Yeah, I didn't say they're created by humans. What I said is that they're still dependent. They're dependent on water. They're dependent on sunshine.
A mountain isn't dependent on... a mountain comes from plate tectonics, doesn't come from water and what have you. But a tree does. A tree comes from water and nutrition and probably some dinosaurs down there somewhere, so yeah.
So even a mountain comes from tectonic plates. It's dependent on two tectonic plates colliding with each other. So it's dependent on
A
something.
mountain is dependent on other things, yes.
Yeah. So we could go over many examples, but I'm sure you can see that everything around. Now, here's my claim here, the actual claim. You can understand anything, yeah? I'm not trying to patronize you, but I'd rather you understand.
Sorry, it's a Jimmy Carr gag, it's an old one.
Didn't I say patronize?
You're right.
Okay, yeah, that's fine, no problem. So I'm not going to patronize you.
You're right, mate.
So there's an infinite regress of dependent things.
No, there is reason through rationally and logically, I agree with you.
Now let me just end that point. You cannot have an infinite regress of dependent things. There has to be an independent thing at the end of that. Otherwise, to have an infinite regress...
You're inserting the independent thing. You straight away you're going God of the gaps. You're putting something else in.
It's not God, by the way.
Doesn't matter what you're putting in there.
Yeah, I've just said...
Just because it's uncertain and we're not sure about it, there's no certain thing.
Okay, because there's two options, Ian. I'll tell you your two options, yeah? Either, because we see everything around us and including us, we're dependent. Either we're dependent on something else, which is dependent on something else, which is dependent on something else, ad infinitum.
Yep.
That's one option. Or the infinite regress of dependent things has to stop somewhere. And according to your understanding that you've acknowledged, the other option can only be independent being at the end of it. Which of the two is it?
The simplicity is, as natural beings, having evolved over the years, we are required and necessarily reliant on things that come from the past, be it our parents, be it our trees, be it whatever, and food and what have you. But there's nothing else other than evolution, where we are here, our reliant on the things we need, and where we are now.
Okay, you've misunderstood what I've said.
No, I didn't.
Okay, the point that I'm trying to say, Ian, is what you've said is, I'll tell you why. You said we're reliant on evolution. Evolution is reliant upon matter and this and that. But the point still stands. If you carry on, Ian, that's dependent on that, that's dependent on that, then philosophically and rationally, an infinite regress of dependent things means we cannot exist. Let me give you an analogy. If I am to throw a can, I ask the permission of someone else. He asked the permission.
That's the fact that we do exist.
But will I be able to throw that can?
You're taking me down a line.
I'll answer that.
You can then throw your later point into it. And I get that. That's cool. Okay, so in the first instance, I say, no, you can't throw. I'm not having litter and I don't like it.
Okay, Ian, I'm not taking you anywhere. You're more than welcome to stop in your tracks and refuse to go anywhere. Yeah? So I'm merely postulating options. We're exploring them together. If you disagree with anything, you're more than welcome to disagree. But what I'm saying is, I want you to really focus on what I'm saying. Don't worry about me taking it anywhere. You can leave the park, even if I have somewhere. It doesn't mean that I've committed you to anything.
No.
Yeah, you're more than welcome to formulate your own opinion. Yeah, no worries. So what I'm trying to say, Ian, coming back to this point is, if you have an infinite regress of dependent things, remember, Ian, remember existence. The first thing we acknowledge is that we exist. There's existence.
Yeah.
Then we postulate that there's only three types of existences: independent, dependent, and impossible. Then we say, look at ourselves and look at what's around us and look at everything. These are all dependent things.
Yep.
Now we bring rationality and logic into it, and we say, look, if it goes ad infinitum, logically, we should not exist and we can only exist if that chain ends. And you made that point, but you misunderstood the point that you made. You hit the nail on the head. You said, but we do exist. The mere fact that you made that point that we do exist shows that that chain has to end somewhere, philosophically, rationally, logically. However, there are two options.
No, it
Again,
it doesn't
think of these two options. Either it's ad infinitum, then we can't exist, or it has to stop. And that's why, Ian, even atheists, even I would say the modern atheists don't have an issue with the necessary being. That's why we're stuck on something which isn't very much disputed. Why? Because, Ian, you can't rationally, your life becomes a irrational existence. Because what you're saying is, no, but we don't need an independent existence. Okay, then then dependency goes ad infinitum. Okay, then we can't exist. It's a contradiction then.
Right, so what you're getting at is, it is irrational to have the concept that, in my stance, I have not been proved sufficiently that God exists, which is basically what we're getting to.
Sorry, say that again?
It is irrational for me to conceive that God doesn't exist based on the fact that I can't prove he exists.
No. What I'm saying
That's
where you assume that we're going, not, we can go there, you can like it there, not like it there. It's like going to Italy or whatever, when you threw the pebble down.
But your point earlier was purely about that. You were moving to that point.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, for you to jump to that earlier on when I haven't made those arguments yet, I'm making the argument from dependency at the moment. And what I'm saying is either there's an infinite regress of dependent things, or that chain has to end with an independent existence. That's all I'm saying.
You've got an independent regress.
Infinite regress.
You've got an infinite of regress
of dependent things.
of dependent things. So why can't we have an infinite regress? Because eventually,
Go on, say it.
No, eventually we end up in the heat death of the universe. So I'm going for the independent regress of things, because that's where we end up. Nothing.
Right, but then you're faced with another contradiction, with it, which is that you pointed out. But
we do exist. But why can't we exist and die? What's the problem in existing and dying?
because logically and philosophically, it doesn't make sense.
What?
No, not living and dying. What your premise is.
That's what I said. Like
No.
living and dying.
Yeah, but
if we live and if we die, it doesn't need logic. It's just nature.
you're talking about us as human beings. I'm saying look at the bigger picture. My argument.
Let's talk about you and me. Because what happens to us after we pass away? And I hope for you it's a very long time in the future, and I hope for myself the
Yeah,
same thing.
definitely.
But that is the greatest question in the world. There is no greater question. My stance is, once it comes to that, it's like before I was born. Don't remember that. I'm not going to remember being dead. There you go. So why do we need that to govern what we do on this earth, given that we don't know it exists or not? And we really don't know if it exists or not.
I'll take your premise.
No one's come back. No one's come back and told us
I'll take your premise.
that we know of.
I'll take your premise. So your premise is, why don't we start with ourselves? I'm saying you can't but look at the bigger picture, because you as a person depends on something. That depends on something else. That depends on something else. And you said that why can't we have an infinite infinite regress? So you're kind of having your cake and then eating it at the same time.
No.
Yeah. So you're saying let's look at ourselves, but what I'm saying is, Ian, you can't just look at ourselves in isolation, because the argument that you made was that there is an infinite regress of dependent things. We have to look at the bigger picture, otherwise, again, we're contradicting what we said earlier. So if we then look, that's dependent on something else, that's dependent on something else, then there was now for you to say it was ad infinitum, but then again you believe in the Big Bang, so either there's a Big Bang or there wasn't a Big Bang. Which of the two do you follow?
I believe that the scientists who know far more about this than I do consider that the Big Bang is the greatest explanation as to why the universe started.
Right, so Big Bang, I'm sure you'll agree, is the start of time and space as well, yeah?
The scientists tell us that that is the best explanation.
Right, and you take what they say?
They're the people who give me the ability to have my phone and signal and all the rest of it. So yeah, pretty good.
Okay, we'll come to that. That's actually interesting. So the point, and do you accept that there is some sort of stability in this world?
No, absolutely not. There's no stability whatsoever. There's no order. It's just chaos.
There's no order and
It's just chaos.
Are you joking or are you serious?
No, I'm serious.
Let me just build on that then, yeah?
No, we try to, as humans, build a situation in which we can live a civilized society. Democracy, yada, yada, yada. We try not to kill, rape, steal, all the rest. Rules in place. But I don't believe there's some kind of celestial order. No. It's purely down to what we do and how we can make our existence as pleasurable, happy, and free as possible.
Okay, what you've said contradicts the science that you claim to follow.
No.
Yeah? Let me make the point. I'll tell you why. Yeah?
Sure.
So if, for example, I hold a phone out there,
Yeah.
why is my phone not randomly combusting, floating, exploding,
Because it'd be
getting
against the-
sucked into the
because
ground,
it's against the laws
getting
of-
bigger?
Because it's against the laws of physics.
Right, and what do the laws of physics do?
How long have you got? I've
No,
got
you need a long you explain that? The laws of physics say, because you said there's no stability.
The reason that photon is going to explode is because there is no material in it which will explode by definition. There's material in it which might get very, very warm, which might get very hot, which might deflagrate, but it won't explode.
That principle that you said sounds like stability to me.
Well, what's wrong with it? But that tree is stable.
Yeah, I agree.
That tree doesn't prove the existence of God.
Look, Ian, you're fixated on the existence of God.
Where are we going eventually?
Wait, well, when we get there, look, if I start changing my money and speaking Italian here, it's pointless. I'm in London. Yeah, I'll probably get slapped in the face and said, go back to your country, mate.
Oh, that's hard. That's harsh.
Well, it depends.
Because I never do that.
It depends who I say it to. It depends who I say it to.
All right, some people get a gag
Yeah,
from, but
exactly.
you won't get that from me.
So the point that I'm trying to say is if I start worrying about Italy now, bro, it's illogical. Look, if you want to get to God, we'll get there and we'll talk as much about this. But in order to do that, it's called scaffolding.
Should we just do God?
We can.
It seems to be quick. Because we seem to be dancing periphery.
Well, we're actually not. What we're doing is we're looking at epistemology, which is our understanding.
Epistemology is that which comports with reality and truth. That's what epistemology is.
Yeah, and would you agree that different people have different yardsticks of truth?
No, I would argue that truth is that which comports with reality.
Right, so you actually don't rely wholeheartedly on science, you rely on testimony and you rely on reality as well.
That was your phraseology, as I remember. I wasn't too hot on it, but I rely on truth.
Right, but your truth was science. When I asked you...
And science tends to be true, hence the phone.
Right, science tends to be true, but science...
No, science doesn't tend to be true. Science is true. That's what science is.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
I don't have a stone, but if it wasn't for wind resistance, that leaf drops at 9.81 meters per second. It's demonstrable science.
Okay, what's the evidence that that's going to happen tomorrow?
The fact that you can do it every day for the last 700 years and you can do it tomorrow. And
So because it's happened before?
no,
That's not science.
No, because it's demonstrable, provable. You can do it every single time.
Ian, you missed it.
Every single time.
Ian.
You can ask the question 6 times,
Okay.
but that is the answer.
Right. So Ian, the point that I'm trying to say is, for you to say that electricity, that the leaf is pulled down by gravity and all of these things, it's predicated on the fact that it's happened before in your experience.
Oh, I can tell you all about
Wait.
copper conducting electricity. 'Cause
That's
actually
fine. That's
that I do know about.
no problem.
But,
Yeah, any point that you're going to say is based on the past. What you're now in is known as the problem of induction. And science cannot prove induction without making a circular argument. That's David Hume's problem of induction.
So what-
Wait, let me finish. So copper conducting electricity is true today. Why will it happen tomorrow? Oh, because it happened in the past. Yeah, but why? Because that happened before, therefore it'll happen tomorrow.
You know this is a nonsense argument. Come on.
It's
you can do better than this.
It's an argument, Ian. That
No, it's an argument. It's not your best.
No, it's an argument that even scientists accept. It's called the problem of induction.
Copper is going to conduct electricity tomorrow just like it did yesterday.
And where's the evidence of that? Prove that using science.
Because in the morning you'll wake up, first thing you'll do, you'll take your phone out of your pocket and check the BBC website to see how many goals Liverpool
Ian,
won by.
you're saying you're either using testimony, you're not using science, which is experimenting with something.
It is. Science is evidence. Right. Science is evidence. That's what science is. This has happened for 5,000 years. Chances are it's going to happen tomorrow, and it does, demonstrably, again and again. And again
But what's
and again.
Okay, let me give you another example.
Like I say, you're on shaky ground there, mate.
Okay,
It's not good.
look, one thing,
Go
just
somewhere else.
some personal advice here. In problem of induction, when you go home and you check it, it's pretty solid. Yeah, and the fact
No, it's not pretty solid at all. I've worked in electricity all my life. I'm an industrial electrician.
that's not really relevant here.
It's massively relevant.
Let me
to
give
the
you another
question you
example.
asked.
Let me give you another example. The black swan example.
Oh yeah, there's no such thing as a black swan. No true Scotsman fallacy.
Say that again?
No true Scotsman.
Right, but there are black
Swan.
swans though.
Yeah,
There are.
yeah, I know. I've seen one.
But you just said there are no black swans.
No, it's the no true Scotsman fallacy.
Yeah.
No true Scotsman would say that, no black swans. Yeah, so we can leave.
Yeah. So if today's science says that, okay, swans are white, based upon our previous understanding that each time we've looked at it, the
They're
swan
all
has
white.
always
you
been
can't have
white.
a black swan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then if tomorrow you come across a black swan, what is that?
Well, it can't be possibly a swan because you know you can't have black swans.
No, but there are black swans.
That's the point. This is because you don't know something exists doesn't mean to say it doesn't exist.
Look, Ian, the problem of induction is I'm seeing something today. It's been there in the past. Therefore, it's going to happen tomorrow. That is induction because you are using your previous understanding, and let me give you another example. Yeah, Newtonian physics.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah.
Full mass times acceleration. S equals ut equals half squared.
Newtonian
U equals V
physics.
plus A equals
Yeah,
AT
exactly.
squared. Yeah.
But that helps us on a macro level. However, at that time, to such a degree, it was accepted that philosophers said, "Look, we figured out, we need something else now."
Yeah,
Then
that was
Einstein,
the idea in those
but
days.
then Einstein
We've got it all sorted.
But then Einstein came along and turned physics on its head.
Yep.
That's known as a paradigm shift.
Yes, it is a
Yeah,
paradigm shift.
yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say, Ian. That science is actually more humble than yourself. You're making claims for science that even science doesn't make those claims.
I'm not making any claims beyond that which science
You're
can
saying
claim.
no. You're saying something will happen tomorrow because of something that's happened on the past. That's not science.
If we have demonstrable proof of the fact that I can drop a stone here and it will drop at a fixed rate onto the ground, if you defy that, well then that's the end of our conversation. Because you can't get away from the fact that, and anyone can do a simple experiment, drop a stone, it drops 9.81 meters per second. It's happened every day for as long as we've been humans, and it'll happen tomorrow, and it'll happen 10,000 years in the future. Why? Because people have done the maths about the weight of the Earth and the gravitational pull and G and all the rest of it.
So you're saying we know that that's how. So you're saying that law can't change tomorrow.
It's not going to change tomorrow because the Earth's mass isn't going to change tomorrow, and my mass isn't going to change tomorrow, and the mass of a stone isn't going to change tomorrow. That's why it's a constant.
Okay, that constant. What if I told you that constant has actually changed? Rupert Sheldrake. Look, well, I'll tell you. Science Delusion by Rupert Sheldrake. You can check that out.
One scientist who's done something.
No, there's numerous. Rupert Sheldrake is an example that I've given, just so you know, I'm not just saying and claiming something. Even constants were looked at. This is actually a dogma that's accepted by scientists. However, there is a small fluctuation.
It's not a dogma. You can prove it. You got to stop watching a stone.
Look, you're conflating two things.
I'm not conflating two things at all. If I drop a stone, we can measure demonstrably the rate of acceleration due to gravity. But I'm not sure what this is going to do with God.
Okay.
Come on, let's get on tangent here.
To be honest, I think this conversation is actually more fruitful because we're dealing with a root cause.
What, science? Yeah.
Yeah, because that's your yardstick. And the thing is, look, if you were alive at the time where they thought the Earth was flat, you'd be saying the same thing that you're saying, oh, if I drop this happens. If you look up, this happens. If you look at this research, that happens. Look, that's not relevant and reliable proof that, oh, I can do this and I can do that.
Actually, I'm going to stop you wrong there, because if you go and stand on Southport Beach, which is near me, if you stand on Southport Beach, you can see the sea like this, and all the flat earthers nonsense. You can see that the Earth is actually an oblate spheroid. So no, I wouldn't say, oh, it's flat because people tell me. I'd say, yeah, I can see it's dome. Must be round.
Right. So you're saying based on that one observation,
I mean,
you can make a conclusion.
I might have been put to death for it.
Right.
But that's from the Bible about
that's not what I said.
Murdering witches.
All right. So based on that one evidence, you would conclude that the Earth is round.
I'd certainly conclude it wasn't flat.
Well, that's actually not science. Based on
evidence.
Not one single evidence by one single person.
Me saying that the Earth does that isn't evidence.
it's not sufficient evidence for it to be considered scientific, because the word that's missing here is repeatable. It has to be something that can be checked under a microscope. It's something that has to be paired. It's something that has to be, merely standing on a mountain. I could stand on. Wait. I could stand on a mountain and think the Earth is a triangle, and I can have my own understanding. Yeah, look, that goes that way. That goes that way. The Earth is a triangle. That's not science. That's
no.
Yeah. It's an observation. It's an opinion. So, and look, I think science, the science that you are so, trying to defend, it falls.
I'm not defending science. I'm merely pointing out that it's the best route to our opinion of truth.
Okay, that's defending. If you're saying that something is the best, that's defending.
No, I don't believe it is. I'm not defending it. I'm merely stating that it is our best route to truth.
Right. Okay, no problem. We just put that on ice for a second. Replication crisis. Are you aware of it?
Go on.
Science, when you repeat an experiment.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So when you repeat an experiment enough times, there was an experiment done by Amgen that noticed that I think it was around 40 or 50% of studies that when they were replicated, they didn't give the same conclusions. That's number one. Science falls prey to replication crisis. Number two was let me finish the points here. Number two was induction. Yeah, now induction is something that if you studied philosophy, you studied science, induction is something that's standard to you, but you dismiss that, no problem, you can check that later. Number three, interpretation of data.
Number two didn't mean anything.
We can come back to that, no problem. Let me just get the four things out the way, yeah? So, one was replication crisis, one was induction, the third one is interpretation of data. Again, a study was done in which they had certain scientists, they were given the same data, and both groups of scientists came to different conclusions. Why? One was doing it on Bayesian probability, the other one was doing it on correlation, to the line of best fit. So again, interpretation of that data is very important as well. And number four, like we discussed with Newtonian physics and with Einsteinian physics, Thomas Kuhn says there's something known as paradigm shifts. Each generation or so, science goes through a paradigm shift. So because of these four things, I would argue that science itself is not a strong enough criteria for you to defend and for you to say that's the best thing. Even testimony, science relies on testimony, but according to the scientific method, you cannot prove testimony. So these are the 4 points. The floor is yours.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cameras pointing at us. They all rely absolutely on science. Not one of them works on prayer or the belief in the existence of God. The floor is yours.
Okay. The creator of the camera was Ibn al-Haytham. Ibn al-Haytham was somebody that was devout Muslim. In fact, the scientific method came from Ibn al-Haytham. In fact, the Muslims at that time.
Could he have been...
You said the floor is mine.
But could he have been a Christian?
He wasn't a Christian.
But could he have been?
But he wasn't.
No, that's not the question.
Yeah.
Could he... So he was born with a sufficiently intelligent and interested mind.
Yeah.
Let's say he was born to my mum and dad.
Yeah.
And he was born a Christian.
I have no issue with that.
So if
Newton was a Christian. Kepler was a Christian. Galileo was a Christian.
But if he'd have been born a Christian, does it matter that it was a Muslim?
No, your premise was prayer.
No, exactly.
Your premise was prayer. So they're still praying to the same God.
No, they mentioned prayer. You
did.
I just said these are people who would.
Yeah, and you mentioned prayer. You said look,
we've had prayer in the past tense. Yeah.
You said prayer here. You said which? You said it, isn't it? You said prayer. Yeah. You said, do they run on prayer?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yes. I did get that. Yes.
Yeah.
But do they?
That's why I was talking about prayer.
Do they run on electricity?
Well, that's the point that I tried to answer when you said the floor's mine.
Sorry.
I said the father of modern day optics is Ibn al-Haytham. The father of modern day scientific method is again Ibn al-Haytham. Ibn al-Haytham was a Muslim. Yeah, you've got Al-Khawarizmi, who's the father of modern day algebra. You have
Your maths you've got, I'll give you that all day long.
No, all of these. Like
Yeah. No-
Ibn
no-
al-Haytham,
no question that.
Al-Khawarizmi, Jabir ibn Hayyan, Zahrawi 200 surgical instruments. I would say,
Hundreds of years ago, and just superb, yeah.
yeah, in fact, even here in the UK, until about the 16th, 17th, the medical textbook was, the official medical textbook was by Ibn Sina. Thomas Jefferson had his own Quran. He was studying Arabic to learn that. You can actually go home and check all this. Like you said, there's 5 cameras here. I'm saying this stuff, you can reference it later, no problem.
I've got a copy of the Quran at home. What can I say?
Yeah, brilliant. So the point that I'm trying to say, Ian, is what you asked me initially was, do you pray before crossing the road? And my thing was, I do both. And I would say the same thing here, both. Do your best, Allah will do the rest. That's one of the philosophies of Islam. You have to do...
Do your best and Allah do the rest.
Yeah, you have to do something, Ian. And I think that's why, because there are certain people of faith that, like you said, Mahatma Gandhi said that with regards to his wife as well. When she fell ill, he said, I'm not going to give antibiotics because that's not the way. You heard that, yeah. And then when she passed away, because...
He mustn't have liked her.
Yeah, and then afterwards he ended up using antibiotics when it came to his time. So this is actually that we would actually say that's not practicing Islam properly. As a Muslim, as a person that believes in Allah and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, you have to do something. This is a world of means. And then reliance. So you marry both of them together because this is a world of means. It's not paradise. So the point that I'm trying to say with regards to these cameras, I would say it's both. It's both. You need Islam. For example, I would say that we are of 2 main things. We are of the physical and we are of the spiritual. And if one is deprived and the other one is, satiated, it's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. If you focus too much on the spiritual side and you neglect the physical side, you're going to die. If you rely too much on the physical side and you neglect the spiritual side, then spiritually you're going to die. Yeah, there's going to be chaos. There's going to be, issues because that person is morally bankrupt or whatever.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not agreeing with you, but I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take that still. So in terms of that, Ian, what I'm saying is, again, don't put us in the same camp as the Christians.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah. Not in any way.
No, I'm not assuming you are. What I'm saying is maybe it's to the audience that sometimes what they do is they assume that, we pray before doing anything. It has to be a physical prayer. No, Ian. It doesn't have to be a physical prayer. It could be awareness. It could be intention. In fact, it is awareness. It is intention. These brothers are standing here, mashallah, patiently, listening. Their intention is seeking knowledge.
I love language. Mashallah.
Yeah. Mashallah means, Allah willed it.
Allah willed it. I do like language. Sorry.
Yeah. In fact, what's interesting is in English, when you say hello, I'm sure you'll agree, doesn't mean anything, does it?
Go on, what is it?
No, hello doesn't mean anything.
But what is it in the...
But in Islam, when we greet somebody, we say Assalamu alaikum. Okay. May peace be upon you.
Oh, yeah, which is a great greeting.
Yeah. But what's interesting is because you like language, I thought I'd put that in there as well. Right. In English, you say thank you. Thank you doesn't really mean anything. If you look at the definition, they'll tell you when you say it, in what situation, but what do the words actually mean? It doesn't mean anything.
No.
It's there.
It's the Italian grazie.
Yeah. And in Islam, if you were to give me something, I'd say Jazak Allah Khair. May God, Allah reward you with something better. So that's a prayer. So
throw that one back at me, please.
Jazak Allah Khair. May Allah reward you with something better. Jazak Allah Khair.
Khair.
Yeah.
Jazak Allah Khair.
Yeah, repeat after me. Ashhadu. No.
I'm going to get christened in a minute. He tried that the other day. I wasn't having that either.
Our brother's got that.
It's been a splendid conversation with you.
Yeah, Ian, likewise. I found it fascinating. If you want, Ian...
Would you allow me one question?
Ian, you can actually answer any questions you wanted or you want. If you want to fast track, we can. If you're feeling that, this is dragging on, I want to get to this particular thing.
I'll do this all day long. Yeah. But I have one question.
Go ahead.
How did you decide that the God in which you believe is the correct one?
Yeah, very good. So, firstly, we believe there's an innate disposition in all of us.
You've gone straight to our faith tells us. How did you decide that faith was the correct one?
Ian.
And you went straight to we believe. You can't use we believe before you believe, if that makes sense.
And Ian,
it doesn't work. You can't say, oh well, we believe. Yes, but how did you get into this club?
but Ian, you can't tell somebody that
I can't tell them.
No, wait. No. You can't tell somebody their argument is false if they haven't made the argument yet.
I didn't tell them it was false.
I haven't.
I
I didn't finish what I wanted to say. When I finish, then you're more than welcome to do that. In fact, I know the God of the gaps, and I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with you.
You've been here before.
The thing is, I was going to say, Ian, that I think in this hour conversation, I think you should have better assumption of me than to refer to God of the gaps.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't God of the. No, it was a genuine question.
Yeah.
What makes?
That's a false premise. I would say. In
what
fact.
makes
Yeah.
you? Because I was a Catholic because my parents were Catholic,
Yeah.
and they told me to be Catholic. I went to Catholic school, so I was a Catholic, and I broke out of those shackles. Just curious as to yourself, because obviously you're very keen on your religion. Cool. Wondered what was the reason for it. Why is it this one that's right and everything else is wrong?
Right.
Nothing to do with God of the Gaps. God of the Gaps is a whole different argument.
Right, Ian. So, like I was saying, I'm just going to finish the point here. Yeah. So we have an innate disposition to believe in a God. Now, this is a study that was done by Justin Barrett of the University of Oxford, who says that we all have an innate disposition to believe in a God. Now, this is not the main argument that I'm making. I am merely adding certain things together, and that will be my argument. For me to merely rely on innate disposition, I agree with you, Ian, it's fallacious. But it's interesting, I thought, it's when Muhammad Hijab was speaking to Jordan Peterson, and he mentioned this, peer-reviewed article of Justin Barrett, he actually appreciated it. And he said, oh, what's that name? You can actually see it on YouTube. So I thought maybe it might be something that's interesting to you if you go home and say, oh, he's talking about innate disposition in a God. So we do have this yearning to believe in a God. Interesting. Not as an evidence, but interesting. So I would argue that yearning is in every single one of us. Now, what do you do with that yearning, and what did I do with that yearning? It's, for example, and it's a very loose analogy, you go into a Superdrug, yeah, and I want to get shampoo, Ian. And there's like 20 different types of shampoos, and I'm
You've
like,
got gorgeous hair. You don't need shampoo, man.
you're just sweetening me up. It's not that good. Well, if it is, it's olive oil, cold
It's
pressed,
pretty good, dude.
cold pressed olive oil. And yours is looking brilliant as well.
Following around.
So what I would say is, if I've got 20, 30 different types of shampoos there, I would pick him up, look at the front, and then study the back. If there's certain terminology being used, I would research that. I was like, what's benzyl dioxide?
What the dickens are you putting on my hair?
Yeah, exactly. Well, like what's interesting is that Herbal Essences have released a shampoo that says no SLS, no parabens. And then, I'm thinking, Ian, what does that mean? That your previous ones did have SLS and parabens? Like it really does, bamboozle you sometimes.
It's nuts.
It's crazy. That's why I can understand the no shampoo movement in America, but let's not go there. But what I would do is...
It's a nice place to go, but it's a great place to leave.
So what I would do is I would look at what's on the back, I would look at the claims being made. There's no additives. I would read it, I would, check the reviews online, and, you do that, like, especially if I'm getting a serious one. So I did the same, Ian, and I'm going to be honest. When 9/11 happened, a lot of people were saying, look, this was even the teachers, my friends, everybody around me was saying, bro, you're a terrorist. Your guys have done this and condemn that. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a mega practicing person. Like yourself, I was a cultural Muslim. Yeah, and what happened then, Ian, was at that time...
Can I backtrack? A friend of mine is a cultural Jew, and he says he's not Jewish, he's just culturally Jewish. So as a cultural Muslim, you don't necessarily go with the bells and whistles of the religion. It's just that that's the way you're brought up and that's the way you go about your life. Is that a good interpretation of that? A cultural Muslim?
No, I think I use the term practicing and non-practicing.
All right, practicing and non-practicing.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So I wasn't particularly practicing. Like, I prayed, I read the Quran, but if you were to speak to me at that time, like, why do you believe in the Quran, which I hope you do ask, Or why do you believe in the Prophet?
I'm reading it.
Yeah. So no, I mean you can ask like you have done, and at that time I wouldn't be able to answer. But Ian, this constant bombardment for teachers checking for, oh, you said this or you said that, switching on the news, my mum in a hijab going out, people whistling and jeering. I genuinely started believing that, you know what, maybe Islam is a terrorist religion. Maybe is this. If enough people are saying it, it has to be true.
But that's the ad populum fallacy, which doesn't carry
But
any
if
water.
you told me what a fallacy was, I'd think you invited me to dinner or something. You know what I'm saying?
Nope.
So at that time, I was in
So you
secondary.
got the critical thinking.
I was in secondary school, Ian, and I didn't know. But then I started, and I was like, this is ridiculous. And then I did start going to the imams and say, yeah, but why? Where are people getting this? Why is this being said? And then after looking at geopolitics, after looking into the faith, after actually like you are doing Quran, and then hearing the debates, like Hamza Sotz's Lawrence Krauss, the debates, Jimmy Swaggart, Ahmed Didat, the debates, William Campbell, Dr. Zakir Naik. Yeah, these are very popular debates. Muhammad Hijab, David Wood, but that came recently. So all these debates, I was hearing what the Christians were saying. I was hearing the Sri Sri Ravi Shankar and Dr. Zakir Naik and the claims Sri Sri Ravi Shankar was making. I looked into it. And then after that, I realized that Islam is the one that, in terms of empiricism, in terms of rationality and philosophy, because I've studied a bit of philosophy as well. I don't want to say too much on camera.
I think it can show itself.
Yeah, thank you. So in terms of that, Ian, when I had to do it, and I did it at a reputable institution, but the thing is, I don't say it on camera. But the thing is, it was genuinely, and people saying, "Oh, what's your drive?" I had to, because I was seeing it everywhere, Ian. And the thing is, the propaganda was strong. And when I then started looking into the geopolitics, that 97% of the extremist or terrorist attacks that have happened since 9/11, they've been from the far right. 73%, yeah. And this was done by the ADL, yeah. They did this.
Those,
not the EDL.
Those people.
No, the ADL and the Government Accountability Office. This was actually put forward to the Congress in the United States. Then I realized that Georgia State University said, look, whenever a Muslim does something, they get 4.5 times more coverage online. Then I started,
In America at the time, I would imagine that would have been absolutely bang on, because agenda, what can you say?
No,
they're going to go hard at you because of 9/11. Just one of those things.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying even now.
Oh yeah.
Even in this country.
It might be even worse.
Oh yeah, Ofcom said that as well, that there is an inherent bias reporting against Muslims. I'm paraphrasing. But that was the thing. But after understanding that, and also looking at, okay, so this person's committed a terrorist attack, but why is the word terrorist not being used? For example, in New Zealand, the gunman that went in. I don't want to say too much because I don't want these videos to be censored.
Don't strip yourself on YouTube.
Yeah. So again, certain terminologies and stuff like that, and then I started looking at Quran, like people like yourself came. Oh, why do your women have to wear hijab? Why is the Quran true, and why is
I've not asked you why women have to wear hijab.
Yeah, like yourself, like people that are searching about Islam, people that are curious about Islam.
It is a point which I would have a conversation, but I suspect not today. Yeah. We have been at this for about an hour and something.
No worries. Whenever you get tired,
the hijab is a whole different thing. And
no worries. We can.
Hey, no, I can't do this next week because I'm not here.
I'm not here next week either.
Next series.
Yeah, whenever. But the thing is that when I then started looking at the Quran, comparing it with the Bible, for example, a Christian will come and say, look, the only way to Jesus, the only way to God or to felicity or to paradise is through Jesus. And you got the New Testament there.
Yes, exactly.
So I will then say, okay, the New Testament, like, is that the same New Testament that was revealed at the time of Jesus? Has it been perfectly preserved? They'll say, no, it's not the same Bible. I'll say, hang on a minute, so God has revealed the book, but you're claiming it's not the same? I'll say, what do the Muslims say? Okay, the Muslims say it's the same Quran that was revealed at the time of Muhammad. Okay, but where's your evidence? We have manuscripts. Yeah, but where are those manuscripts? University of Birmingham. Yeah, but have they been carbon dated by the University of Oxford? Yeah, but what's the similarity with what we have today? 100% word accuracy. Then I'm like, yo, the Quran is somewhat accurate. But in terms of, okay, language, okay, the New Testament is in Greek. The Quran is in Arabic. In terms of language accessibility, you're saying it's for everybody, and if you don't know it, it's a problem. But okay, so what's the, like Greek, where's it ranked? Is it ranked in the top 5? It's not. Arabic is ranked in the top 5. Okay, but manuscripts, not people don't have time for manuscripts. It's too complicated, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no problem. How can you tell me that the Quran is the same? Tell me layman's terms. I say the Quran from cover to cover it's the only ancient book that has been mass memorized. I can stand here and I can say something from the Quran and I can read it false. One of these guys will say, no, that's false. People cannot do that for the Bible. So Ian, this three-pronged approach of manuscripts, live language, and memorization, that is the three-pronged approach that gives the Quran more superiority. And again, there's other arguments as well. Then the Bible, which doesn't claim that, the Vedas don't claim that, and even the Old Testament don't claim that. Go ahead.
Memorization.
I thought you were going to read the Shahada.
No. Memorization. I can tell you the words of every scene in Blackadder that's ever been, and also.
But Ian, I said mass memorized.
Yes, you did.
Even by 6-year-old children.
Yes, but a bulk of people believing something doesn't make it true, and you must because if you believe that, you believe Catholicism is true.
Catholicism.
Catholics.
No.
We can't have.
No, memorization. You're talking about memorization.
You've got the argument ad populum, which is more people believe this, so it must be true.
No.
Doesn't matter how many people believe a thing.
I see what you're saying.
Doesn't make it true.
Right.
You obviously believe that Islam is correct. Cool. Good. All power to you. But like I say, I know all the words to Blackadder and every track that Rush ever wrote.
Yeah.
But that doesn't make them divine.
But Ian, that's not what I was saying. I said that it's a three-pronged approach to proving preservation. And the point that I initially made to that Christian was that, okay, you're telling me that I need to read the New Testament. Okay, then is it the New Testament? Is it the same book that was written at the time of Jesus? Because you're saying, for me to get to God, I have to go through Jesus. So remember,
which is a Christian doctrine.
So remember, my initial argument was to do with preservation, and mass memorizing a book is enough proof for preservation. That was my
oral tradition.
Exactly. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, out of the holy books, this is a way that even a layman can understand that the Quran is preserved based upon mass memorization. Like in every household, every family has at least one person they know that's a hafiz or somebody that has memorized the Quran.
So
do you see my argument? Yeah.
Forgive me, I do not know the answer to this question.
No worries.
Do you know the Quran? Can you recite it?
Yes.
You know the whole thing?
When you say no, like by heart or by looking?
Well, I always thought, and I might be wrong here, that part of being a Muslim was knowing the Quran by heart to recite it.
No.
Is that not?
No, because Islam.
Because it's a big book. It's like me knowing Lord of the Rings. I can quote a few passages out, but I'm going to remember all of it.
Exactly. So based on what you just said, that would be an argument against Islam. That you're saying Islam is a religion for everybody, for all ages, for all people.
I wasn't making an argument against Islam. I was just curious.
No. What I'm saying is that somebody else could, and I would agree with them, if they were to say that, okay, you're saying that Islam is for everybody and everybody needs to adopt it and it's the best way. However, how is this practical that everybody has to memorize the whole book for you to be a Muslim?
Yeah, it doesn't help anyone really, does it?
Well, memorization, even...
Let's work on the book, and let's work on how we interpret that into modern society and make everyone better. Surely that's the best way to do it.
It's subjective, because even in China, Confucianism, there's no religion in China per se. But
except Shintoism, and that's...
Yeah, well, it's not technically a religion, but Confucianism is something that has permeated within China, and by law, children are required to memorize passages from the saying of Confucius. And there's a documentary, it was on Amazon Prime. If you search it, and one of the teachers was asked, children as young as 7 are asked to memorize it, but they don't understand what it means. He said, look, we're arming them that they memorize it, and then when they got older, they will be able to understand it and they'll be able to apply it. So again, it's subjective. If somebody does that, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. I can understand what you're saying, that, you know, is it better for them to know the meaning and for them to memorize it? Either way, it's up to the people. Some people, they memorize young in the hopes that they should do something else when they grow up, but it's not a condition for being a Muslim, because
But it's not right.
Yeah.
Because I always had this thing in my head that you had to remember the whole, because if you're Jewish, don't you have to remember the whole Torah and the thing in order to do
yeah,
Bar
they don't
Mitzvah?
know. Yes. Or do they not?
Well,
Yeah.
it's one of them. They read it, but they don't know it.
But what do you think? What do you think about in terms of preservation, that the three-pronged approach that Islam gives, that the other ancient religions cannot give in terms of preservation? And do you think that's important? That if I come to you with the claim that you need to follow this book, yeah, but is this the same book that was
Great
there?
question. It's very, very important that as many people as possible remember all the world religions and world history, I would say. And then, as and when we had problems, which we've had throughout world history with all religions, as you well know, you can learn from them. But, yeah, we should remember.
If I give you a Lord of the Rings book, and you're saying that looks a bit suspicious, it's got random Polish words in there,
Oh, it's definitely
and
a
you're
bit
like,
dodgy.
no, it's all right. Look, Bilbo Boggins.
Bilbo Boggins went off to did all this.
Bilbo Bobbins went with an onion ring
No, it's
to
a-
Punjab.
It's a fascinating question. Yeah. All right. Let's.
That's suspicious.
Will you take a step with me here?
Yeah.
Let's take a step, which is that all religions are wrong. Okay, take a step with me here. But let's preserve forever all the teachings of all the religions, and let's combine them, and let's make the best of all of them, and let's teach that to future generations.
So you can't do that other than with the Quran. It's not possible with the others.
There possibly is your problem.
Shall I tell you why? I'll tell you why. The oldest manuscript we have of the Bible dates 100 years after Jesus.
No, 87 years, I think it's.
Yeah, it's the same. In fact, the Old Testament is actually longer. It's hundreds.
Oh, the Old Testament's the thousands, but the Old Testament's
Yeah.
nonsense. So
But
you can ignore that.
But do you see, when you said that's the problem, I would disagree with you, and I would say this is the problem. Because when you're saying preserve, my question is practical, Ian, and I'm saying, but preserve what? We're saying that we have, and you can do this, a third-party person. This University of Oxford has carbon dated a manuscript of the Quran that's dated to the time of compilation. You can't do that for the Vedas. You can't do that with the Old and New Testament. What are you preserving? Are you preserving what the scribes wrote afterwards? Are you preserving what Paul inserted afterwards? What are you preserving? Are you preserving what came after the Council of Nicaea? That's the point that I was trying to say, Ian. You see?
On the basis that I don't believe a word of any of it, the interesting thing is I threw you the olive branch, which was if we combine it all and make the world a better place, the world will be a better place. Isn't that better? Is that not just what we want? Do we not want we want the world to be a better place? We want less murder, we want less death, we want less race, less rape. We want the world to be a better place. And I think if we can combine all the religions and take the best of them and take them forward, you can't then say, yeah, but no, ours is right, because all that's wrong. And that was the olive branch I threw you.
Okay.
And unfortunately, you came back with, no.
That's not what I said. It was a question. It was a question.
So would you take on board now, if we were to amalgamate the world religions and say, what are the commandments and what are the things that make life better? Let's amalgamate them, let's combine them, and let's live by those rules. Would you take that, or does it have to be strict Islamic law?
I'm a step ahead of you there, Ian. I say it's already been done.
News to me.
Yeah? You got to listen to the answer, yeah?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Stood here for an hour and a half.
I respect that still. Come on. All right, so you got the Old Testament. Yeah.
which I think is nonsense.
I thought
So-
you
so-
said you're
so-
gonna give me some chance to talk here.
Yeah, we won't refer to the Old Testament.
But for
We
me to
don't
make
have
my
the time
point,
for the Old
yeah, no problem. But for me to make my point, there's a point that I'm trying to say. You had the Old Testament. The Islamic belief is Moses came with the Old Testament. We accept that. We accept that he did come with the book, but we believe that it was corrupted and it was changed afterwards. Then God sent Jesus with the Bible.
Sorry, he
Yeah.
or the word. You said you believe that Moses was corrupted.
Sorry, my mistake. Slip of the tongue. The book was
The
corrupted.
book was so it wasn't
Yeah.
Moses that was corrupted.
No,
it was
no,
the
no,
book
no,
was
we don't
corrupted.
believe
Okay,
that. Slip of the tongue, yeah.
No. Cool.
Yeah. Then after Moses passed, the book was changed, and again, there's evidence. You can take the King James version, New International Version, you can compare it to, and you can see that there's entire chunks and there's debates
Yep.
about them. So then God sent, after a while, Jesus with the New Testament. We believe we have names. We call the Old Testament the Torah, the New Testament the Injil. And then again, when Jesus, we believe he was raised to the heavens. Yeah. Then the New Testament was corrupted. There were additions and subtractions. Then the Quran was revealed. Now each time there's a revelation, it confirms the message of the prophet before, which is of one God, which is of of monotheism. That's pretty much the underlying message.
We're
and
getting
of course
closer
of
to the
prophethood.
truth every day.
And that's the thing, Ian, that each time a book comes, it comes to confirm that which is true and it removes that which is false. However, it does not say that if somebody doesn't accept your thing, you are to do this or you are to do that. Now the point is, Testament with the Jews, New Testament with the Christians,
Yes.
and the Quran, which is the final testament. So the Quran, Ian, combines, and Islam is the deen of wasat, which is that of moderation. Jews don't accept Jesus has come at all. Christians believe,
He wasn't the Messiah.
yeah, Christians believe that Jesus is God incarnate.
Yeah,
So
they do.
so Muslims are in the middle. We're saying Jesus, he wasn't God, he was a prophet. In fact, if you look at a lot of these things, for example, on the one hand, Christians are very liberal with their religion. On the other hand, the Orthodox Jews are very kind of like women have to shave off their head, they have to put on the wig, and then on Saturday you got technology. Islam is moderate. Now, when I say Islam is moderate, it's in the middle. It appreciates both and it gives something which is practical. It's something which is in line with what the previous prophets have said. So that line of reasoning that you're saying, I actually appreciate that, because that's something that not only you have realized, it's something that was realized by the people before you. That we need something that will bring together. The Prophet came to bring people close, not to divide them. And that's why, Ian, if you look at and you read I'd recommend, if after the Quran, you read something called the Sealed Nectar, which is a small biography of the Prophet. It's the one that you can go to any Muslim and they will say, okay, that's cool. And in there, you will notice Muslims, Christians, and Jews living harmoniously. And you did mention, oh, this happened with religion and that happened with religion. I will actually quote people like Karen Armstrong, who used to be a nun. Again, she lost her faith, but she still adheres to the point that the wars and the issues of the past have been predicated on geopolitics and not on faith. The one on faith, or the ones on faith, would be less than politics and geopolitics. And that will be the issue today as well. What you see, it's not really on religion. It's about the borders that have been drawn. It's about people in power. It's about people that are trying to enforce certain things and trying to, get certain things across. You can even look at the current ruling party, their stance on the LGBT, and Keir Starmer's stance on the LGBT. It's polar opposites. So like that, you have these people, but then for you to predicate it on faith and stuff like that, not you, I'm talking about.
I get that in the royal phrase.
Yeah, so I would say, Ian, not only has it been done, it is done. I had the good fortune of going to Egypt and I met some Coptic Christians there. So Coptic Christian is
Coptic Christianity. Yeah. I've
So-
been to Egypt.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be a majority Muslim nation. But the fact that there are Coptic Christians there, and you know what, I actually recorded it because he actually started crying, and I tried to get like souvenir from him, and he was like, it breaks my heart to see our country being dragged through the dirt, and how religion is used in that war, because I've lived here as you know, I'm a Coptic Christian. I said, yeah. He said, look, this is false, but unfortunately and sadly, people listen to the voices that bark the loudest, that speak the loudest.
Oh, the person who's heard most is the person. So there's no question about that.
I mean, that is an issue. And you know, what you've said, and for the people that are here and the cameras and everything, I agree with you. For us to move forward, we do need tolerance. If somebody comes with a different ideology or a belief, just like yourself, I shouldn't condemn you for what you believe in.
And nor should I do for the same with you. But
Yeah.
I suppose the difference is, I don't have a belief. I just reject
But I would say you do,
people.
though.
Well, what do I? It's a long conversation.
Yeah.
I don't believe in any religious aspect. So you can't then say, you do believe in religion. It doesn't work like that.
But the thing, Ian, there is saying you don't believe in something is a knowledge claim. Because let's just say there's three options.
No, it's not.
Let me give you an example.
No,
I'll give you an analogy.
I do not know.
Right, let me give you an analogy though, yeah?
Please do.
So you've got A, B, or C. These are the three options that something... So I say, why did the fence get painted green?
I don't know. Probably somebody decided at the council meeting.
You haven't even had the options.
Yeah, but I just answered your question.
Probably what?
Probably it was decided to be painted green in the council meeting. That's why the fence got painted green.
Yeah, you interrupted me. I lost my chain of thought. What was the initial point?
You were giving me 3 points.
Yeah, why was
to
I
prove
doing
the
that?
fact. Because I say I don't believe in God. And
knowledge
there's
claim.
Insufficient proof.
Okay, knowledge claim.
To prove that it exists.
So you're saying that it's the... So let's just say I give you A, B, and C, and you say, it's none of them. It's something else.
No, I don't know.
Let me make the point.
I don't know what A, B, and C are.
That's fine.
You might nail it.
Okay, so let's just say I say, A. Okay, for the sake of semantics then. A, it's green because a guy called Bob came and he painted it green 2 minutes ago.
That's probably 6 months ago, but probably the reason.
Bob.
Gordon. Derek.
Why does it have to be Bob, Gordon, and Derek?
It's always Bob.
What's Bob spelled backwards?
Bob.
Take your time. Yeah,
Yes.
What's Bob spelled backwards? You got that, yeah? So, look, I say, okay, Bob painted it 2 minutes ago. You said 6 months.
Do you know that gullible spelt backwards is Arnold?
No, it's not. I took a play at that game. Come on. So there's three options. For you to say it's not A, it's not B, it's not C, means that you are making a knowledge claim that, look, I have enough knowledge to say it's not A, I have enough knowledge to say it's not B, I have enough knowledge to say it's not C, therefore it's F.
Not D. That's the critical thing. It's not A, it's not B, it's not C. I don't know what it is.
No, but you did. You said it was Gordon, Bob.
Wait, no, it
6
might
months
have been.
ago.
It might have been.
Yeah.
But the problem religion has is they say, well, all right, it's not A, it's not B, it's not C, therefore it must be. And back to your earlier comment, that is the golden gaps.
It's the same thing. It's the.
Nice camera, right?
It's look. What needs to be done here is science does the same thing as well. When there are options, science uses empiricism to reach a conclusion and then says this is the inference to the best explanation. Religion does the same thing, and you're more than welcome to critique it. But if I was to ask you, Ian, where did all this design and where did all this come from? What would your answer be? The Big Bang, chance, or by itself? I say that's not good enough. I say that's a cop-out.
What is the hallmark of design?
The hallmark of design is that it works. That was the thing that you said about the camera.
The hallmark.
If that camera didn't work, you wouldn't be praising it, isn't it?
So true. The hallmark of design is simplicity.
That's if you follow Occam's razor.
Well, yeah.
No.
If you want to design something, you make it as simple as possible.
Yeah, but why is that? Why is that the premise? That it has to be simple.
Because if you're going to design something, you make it as simple as possible.
But why simplicity?
You don't put more things into it. You put less things into it. Makes it cheaper and easier to make.
Okay, then if you compare Nokia with a smartphone has more things.
I'd rather tell you about the laryngeal nerve.
I thought you were having a stroke there.
No. Hey, not far off. The laryngeal nerve in a giraffe. It's the nerve that connects its larynx to its brain, goes from the brain all the way down its body, around its heart, back up to its larynx.
Right.
Because once upon a time, the giraffe was this big. It was a tiny little animal.
Allegedly.
No, not allegedly. It's truth.
Oh, why do you keep doing that?
That
You?
which comports with reality.
When you say truth, do you mean? Well, give me a percentage when you say truth.
I don't need to give you a percentage. It's that which comports with reality.
Right. So it's the inference, the best explanation. That's what evolution is.
No, inference isn't the best explanation. No,
Look, you haven't done the excavation. You haven't looked at the evidence.
Right. Okay.
Look, Ian, let me give you an example. Different people will look at the same information given about giraffes and given about the common ancestor. For example, when you look at the fossil record, some people come up with a tree of life, some come up with a bushel of life.
Nobody comes up with a tree of life looking at the fossil records. Sorry, no, I'm not having
tree
that.
of life is that not something that Darwin predicated on?
No, I'm not having people sticking up for the tree of life. That sounds like Disney. That is.
Okay, then what do you think it is?
Oh, it's Big Bang, cosmic evolution, and away we go.
Big Bang is something that comes before evolution. Evolution deals with the first replicating organic material.
I know.
Big Bang deals with something that's inorganic. You're conflating two things.
No, you asked where it came from. Big Bang, evolution.
Evolution only starts with organic organisms, agreed?
Yes.
And those first, we don't even know how
We presume
how
that to be
inorganic,
factual.
how did inorganic give us organic? We don't know.
Brilliant. We don't know.
Yeah. So why are you saying Big Bang then?
So why insert God?
I'm not inserting God.
That's always the issue.
No. Shall I tell you what we say as Muslims?
You can tell me what you think.
Yeah. So what we say is, look, there are mechanisms in place, and again, it's do your best, Allah will do the rest mentality, which is we have.
I do like that line. Do your best, Allah will do the rest. I really like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because it's a good way of.
No, it's a good phrase. I
It's
like
a good way of living.
I'm going to use that.
Yeah, go for it. Look, even when you say evolution, Big Bang, I say as a Muslim, I have no problem with that. They are mechanisms.
What's the?
Let me just finish the point.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. So they are mechanisms. God is a creator of mechanisms. They're in two different categories.
Mm-hmm.
You're conflating them. So evolution, no problem. If that's the best explanation we have, I don't have an issue with that. But to say that substitutes a creator, I would say is fallacious reasoning. And I'll tell you why. If somebody doesn't know how a car works, and they're there, and they're like, oh, how does it work? Somebody comes and explains, oh, this is the gas cylinder, this is the pistons, this is this, hydraulics, and this is that. Oh, therefore there's no creator of that car. That's fallacious reasoning. Just because you know how something works doesn't exclude a creator of that thing. Do you see? Mechanism, a creator of mechanisms. Some people they say, yeah, but gravity. Ian, look, in all good conscience, you cannot say gravity caused everything. Please tell me you're not making that claim.
I would imagine gravity caused almost. Actually, no. It is fair to say gravity caused everything we can see now.
Okay.
Without question.
Okay. So forces are creative. They are not. Sorry. Forces are predictive. They are not creative.
Hang on. Forces are predictive.
Yes.
So then, the force has a concept of that which upon it is actuated? Because a force can't be predictive. You can predict what a force will do, but the force itself isn't predictive. A force cannot have a knowledge of what's going to happen.
Okay.
I am being pedantic.
No, that's fine. Be pedantic. The point is, I was actually speaking to a physicist about this, and his explanation was a bit long-winded because he made the point about he made the point about gravity and forces in general and what we understand of those forces and how we see them. Let me just explain it to you with a simple analogy. If you are hitting a billiards ball, physics tells you the force of motion of how that billiards ball moves. It itself does not make the ball move. The only way that ball will move if somebody is hitting it. That's the analogy.
An exterior force. Yes, exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
The ball
An
has
agent.
no knowledge of what it's going to do. It is merely subject to an agent of force. Yes.
So a law of arithmetic cannot create wealth, it can explain wealth. If I have £200 in my bank account, fortunately because of inflation,
it's worth £1.20. Good luck with your electricity bill.
Exactly. So I'm not going to go there tomorrow and it's going to be 400 and I'm going to say, it's law of arithmetic. It doesn't, like, unless I'm putting money inside, it's not going to change. The law of arithmetic can explain it to me. Yeah, it's explanatory.
Yep.
However, it doesn't cause things to happen.
No, it doesn't cause anything to happen.
Yeah, so let's go back to the original thing, that forces are, they explain, they predict, but they do not cause things to happen.
No, forces do not cause things to happen.
Yeah, that's what
things happen by natural occurrence.
Right. So people that say Big Bang has happened, gravity caused everything and this and that, that's why I said please don't say that, because
gravity has caused everything that you can see, that we can see to happen. That's why.
Ian, why do you do this?
Because it's true.
Look, gravity doesn't cause things.
What are you made of?
I'm made out of carbon mostly.
And part of you is made of stardust.
Well, stardust is carbon.
And the reason is because throughout time, stars have formed and exploded and then reformed because of gravity. And it's gravity that pulls planets together. It's gravity that pulls solar systems together.
Okay.
It's gravity that pulls stars together.
Yeah.
So we've been pulled together by stars. So everything you can see here is because of gravity, and it is the fundamental force that governs our universe. So, and if you can prove me wrong, I'll give you the Nobel Prize and £10 now.
The thing is, Ian, you've proved yourself wrong already.
No, I just proved myself right.
No, I'll tell you why. Because you're saying stardust came together.
No, I didn't say stardust came together. Stardust was blown out of exploding stars.
But to create us, it does need to come together. Because we're solid.
Oh, it has eventually, yes.
So stardust has come together. So yeah, so you're saying, so stardust has come together in the fact that I have a hand, in the fact that I have eyes, in the fact that I am able to walk without my leg dropping off, there's design.
Yeah.
What you're doing...
You've just design in and it don't...
So there's no design?
You can't just insert design in and it's design.
So I'm not designed. All of this is not designed.
What a dreadful design. No offence.
Alhamdulillah.
I mean, come on. If you and me sat down with a drawing pan, we could come up with a much better design for humans. I mean, heavens.
Let's do it.
We're gentlemen.
Let's do it.
We know.
Let's do it now.
Probably not the best idea. But it's not the best.
Because you can't do it.
We are not designed.
Okay.
We are.
By chance, yeah?
Right. How's your back?
It's fantastic.
How are your legs?
How are your
knees?
Alhamdulillah.
Right, in God I praise.
All praise be to God.
So my knees are shot and my back shot.
Right.
Why?
You know the answer to that.
Bad design.
No.
So do you? I believe that if God designed us, He's not a good designer.
Okay.
Because He got it wrong.
Okay.
Can an omnipotent being get design wrong?
All right. So initially you said
that didn't answer the question. Can an omnipotent being get design wrong?
No, of course he can't.
So why are my knees and my back sore?
That's what I was going to answer. I was going to answer the main thing.
But you were going to go off on the periphery of a load of stories.
All right, then I've answered that. Then no, he can't get it wrong.
Can't get it wrong. So why do my knees hurt? My back hurts.
So that's because you've did. Is it my fault? It's the fallacy of the loaded question. You've given me a loaded question.
Of course, it's a loaded question.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not daft.
Yeah. Then let me answer and decipher this loaded question. It's a Brundellini's law. It took you 10 seconds to make it. Now it's going to take me 2 minutes to decipher it.
Oh, let's not have to. Let's have 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I need a drink.
I'll join you.
We'll go to the pub.
As long as it's not the alcohol. Yeah.
Hey, we all have our crutch in life, mate.
Hey, we have to, like you said, put our differences aside and meet in the middle, isn't it? So an orange juice then. Let's have an orange juice. All right. So look, when it came to design, firstly, that's predicated on the understanding that God has created everything perfect. We are not making that claim. Human beings are not perfect.
So I'll go straight back to your claim on that one.
Right.
If God is omnipotent and all-powerful, surely everything He creates is perfect. It can't be otherwise.
Right. Just because, for example, if I'm the most strictest person, I have a child, does that mean I'm going to 100% I'm going to be strict with that child? Wait, let me finish. No, because I have a choice. I have other attributes and characteristics. I can be angry at certain places. I can be kind in certain places. I can be forgiving in certain places. I can be punishing in certain places. It's the same with God. It's this whole Christian notion that God is all good, He's the all perfect, therefore everything needs to be perfect. That's fallacious reasoning. Just because He's perfect, just because I'm, for example, a really good, electrician, doesn't mean that everything, like God creating something, doesn't have to mean everything is perfect. That's on the premise that everything is not a test. Me creating a test and deliberately leaving things blank in that test, so I'm testing my students, doesn't mean that I'm a bad teacher and a bad examiner just because I've left certain things blank. Those things being left blank is a form of examination, and that's what we as Muslims say the purpose of life is. The purpose of life is not to come here and be the best and do the best and stuff like that.
You're not answering the question. If God is perfect, surely something He designs must by definition be perfect.
Why?
Because He's perfect. He's not
but
doing
that's
it
not
wrong.
his. But that's not his
or
own.
He or she or they or whatever.
But He's also the most just. He's also the most kind. He has other attributes.
Just and kind?
Yes.
Now they're two very, very, very difficult
Let's
things.
do it.
All right, just and kind.
Yes.
Is it kind to let a murderer live?
Yes.
Is it just to see a murderer swing?
Yes.
How can you be just and kind?
Because kind and just in this situation are both married together.
No, you've just just had a complete...
I'll tell you why. Shall I tell you?
Well, you can try and get yourself out of it, but you just disagreed with yourself and
No, I don't think I
can't
did.
do this. Yeah, if he's just,
Yeah.
swing. If you're kind, you get away with it.
Right. Can I do something?
Plausible deniability.
Can I do something that's kind and just? Can you do something that's kind and just?
It's unlikely.
You can't do something that's kind and just, yeah?
It's unlikely.
Okay, you giving a sweet to one child, your child, and then a sweet to another child. You have two children, you've given a sweet to both of them. You have been kind and you have been just. Yes or no?
There's no reason on which to judge that.
You're not answering my question.
Oh, I am doing it. Yeah, no, I am. In what?
You're not. You're going around the point.
No, kindness, yeah. Where does just come into it?
Because you've given one child a sweet and you've given the same sweet to another child.
That's nothing
That's
to
the
do with
definition of
just.
justice.
That's just kind. That's not justice. Justice is murdering murderers or not murdering murderers. That's justice.
Look, an objective definition of justice is not what you just said. If I give a child half a sweet and I give the other child a complete sweet, and then I say, hey, it's not injustice, would you say that?
If they both performed in the same way, that would be an injustice.
Ian, what say that again?
That would be an injustice if they both performed in the same way and you're happy with them.
So then if I...
How the hell are we talking about sweets and kids?
Because they're awesome.
Wait, should we wind this up?
It's up to you. I don't mind. I'm enjoying this.
I know, but I want a drink.
No problem. Ian, it was really nice speaking to you. I hope we meet again.
And we will always meet, and the important thing is, we will always meet as friends.
Come on. All day, every day.
Thanks,
Take care.
Cheers, guys.
I need a drink as well. But Zamzam, yeah?
Thank you.